awesome.
Bob really surprised us.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I know what went into that. That was not easy. You had to gather all those old thumbnails. Thank you, Bob.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to All the Things.
Yes, happy show-iversary.
Show-iversary. We're inventing words.
Yes. Hey, if people can redefine them, I can invent them.
That's right.
I'm Monique Dusan.
And I'm Krista Bontrager.
And this is the show where we talk about all the things related to God, life, the Bible, for the 100th time.
Yeah. It's the 100th time I've hoodwinked and bamboozled Monique to get behind a microphone.
We were just talking about that. This show started out because I was literally hoodwinked and bamboozled. Krista was like...
We just looked up when it started. Our first show was March, like 15th-ish, 2019.
Yeah. And I remember we had a discussion about this for so many months before. And you were like, well, what would we call it? And I think together we were just like all the things, because we always talk about all the things.
Yeah.
But I never in my life thought that I would ever be streaming to somebody's living room. And so, yes.
Well, I had a dream of doing a show like this for like 6 or 7 years, but I didn't have the right partner. And so I just kept asking the Lord, like...
You didn't have anybody to hoodwink and bamboozle.
No, I just didn't have anybody that I thought I would have good chemistry with, and we could have good back and forth and everything. And
Our banter. Then
when you came along, I was like, oh, I could totally picture this.
Yeah, we argue and laugh.
Okay, so here's a clip from the first show.
Oh, that's going to be a mess.
Brace yourself.
Look at that. What in the
Good?
what?
All right.
I'm watching right now.
Well, the camera was a little lower. We had him awesome. Put it up a little higher. We both had 3 people watching. What's going on with your hair?
That voice that you heard off mic.
This is why
my
Allison and
sarcastic
Jennifer
teenager.
renamed me Two Braids.
And
Wasn't it Allison and Jennifer?
I don't remember.
So if you want to talk to us
Oh,
on
my
the
word.
YouTube live chat box, you can do that. And if you swear at us,
She's so like, what am I doing here?
Yes, she will. She has been taught well.
I did not know. I didn't know
husband's
what we
over
were
there
doing.
the
My hair
live
is literally
stream
freshly shampooed and
trying
drying
to, grow
so that I can let it go
so that he can
the next day.
punch all the buttons at the right time. So
Oh, God.
Look at my
excited
face.
to
I'm literally like, when
do a
will
live
this be
stream,
over?
possibly on a regular basis to talk
Possibly
about.
on a regular basis.
Look at my eyes squinting at you. What are you talking about? Possibly on a regular basis. There is no makeup.
There's no makeup. The lighting's terrible.
You are pale.
Almost
Do you want me to type something?
I didn't have any makeup on.
I'm just like,
right.
when will my hair be done
phone's
drying?
going off. Oh, it's my aunt.
I don't know if we should read the text messages
I know.
and stuff while we're live.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
That's all right. So,
Oh, my gosh.
hello.
Hello, Abigail.
So let's talk about you. Let's maybe let people know
All right.
a little bit
That-
about you.
Is a mess. That is a mess.
Oh, gosh.
You guys, I apologize. If you go on YouTube and watch that whole episode, I apologize. Please forgive me.
Alicia Moss says I'm dead.
Yeah. And I now live among the ancestors. Yes, because there is no way.
We didn't know
my
what we were
gosh.
doing.
We didn't. We did not know. And then she was like, and then we'll do it next week. Next week? Who's doing this next week?
Oh, gosh. Oh.
Yeah, no. But here we are, show number 100. Won't he do it?
Won't he will.
Yes.
Oh, so we are live, yes. And so we're going to be joined throughout the show by some special surprise guests. Go ahead and join us on the chat. YouTube is always fun.
Sorry, Kristen just said, okay, and I thought she was fishing in Alaska, but maybe I read it wrong. But she said, I wish you could hear our laughter. I think I just peed. Oh, goodness.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jeremy's there. He's been here almost from the beginning.
Jeremy is like low key, just like the third person. Jeremy's been here from the beginning. Yes.
Oh,
I am
God.
fishing in Alaska. Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
We were a mess.
And were.
And she really had no idea like what my vision was.
No.
I remember.
I'm not a podcast person, so
Yeah, she hadn't
I don't
listened
really
to podcasts, so she didn't really know.
Yeah. And so she was like, we're just going to get on here and, like talk. And I was like, who we going to talk to? Nobody knows us.
And part of our journey was that, like, before George Floyd, we would have, like, we thought we were doing big things. If we had, like, 20 people. Oh, gosh. It was fun.
No.
We were learning.
It was a mess. Y'all, there were things that I would be like, we're not talking about this. We do not talk about this. Do not. If you start to talk about this, oh, y'all, I was so stiff-necked and stubborn.
What people don't know is that you were still pretty entrenched in critical race theory at that point. And so my idea with the show, one of my ideas with the show is, we could have all these guests on and we could talk about issues that might be of help to you. And you could meet other people besides me, because you just thought I was crazy.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
You thought nobody else thinks like this.
Yes. And then I met others and I was like, oh.
And so I thought it would be fun. Like, hey, I could get my friend Mike Gurney to come on, and I could get people to come on that I wanted her to have a conversation with, but I couldn't wrangle her to like get on Zoom with the person. So I thought, well, we'll just have a show and then we'll have guests.
Yeah, that wasn't my vision. Hey, Jennifer Shotwell from Hawaii is here.
Hey.
Hello, Jennifer. Jennifer's daughter, Jenna, actually volunteered with the Center for Biblical Unity. She just stopped. So I want to give a huge shout out to Jennifer and Jenna. Jenna worked in our donor relations department and helped write our newsletter and things like that. But she's also a junior in college and she's a nursing major. And she was like, I really want to. And I was like, girl, you better go and get your education.
That's right.
You'll be all right. And so just super thankful for Jenna and for Jennifer for raising such an awesome, wonderful woman.
For sure. Emily will just have a show.
Yeah.
My kid knows.
We'll just have a show. I had no idea. I was new. I hadn't even been here a year.
Well, and people don't know that like your PTSD was still pretty bad.
She was taking advantage of the disabled.
Oh, stop.
That's wrong. I'm sure there's a social theory against this.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Social theory, yeah.
Hey,
All
Shamika from Seattle.
Okay, so make sure to support the show. Hit the thumbs up. Share the show
Don't
out.
share that first episode, though. That needs to go for a long walk in the woods.
We need to get Bob put that on private.
Right? Look at my face.
Look, you see the light switch?
I'm literally looking at you like, why? What is this? Where are we going? Is my hair dry?
Oh, my
This
word.
is it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
What a
Let's
mess.
keep going.
Okay, this show is brought to you by the Center for Biblical Unity, Theology Mom, and Family 210 Clothing.
Yes.
Oh, my ass was going to be bad.
Yes.
All right. So you can go check out our family's designs over at Family
This is
210.
one of our newest designs.
Yes.
Truth has no color.
Monique did model for that.
That
by
is
the way.
not, if you don't stop it. Truth has no color. And that is a huge message that we promote at the Center for Biblical Unity, is that we believe in objective truth, and truth has no color. So 2 + 2 is 4, whether you're white, black, brown,
That's right.
orange, pink, whatever. And
about $10
Yes.
of every shirt sale goes to help out the ministry, help out our family. We are very appreciative of all of your support.
yes.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things. We've got some stuff happening
Yes.
before we bring on our first surprise guest.
This is the section
So,
of the move on.
So what's been happening with you?
Well, okay. Gosh, I was going to talk about something. But I don't remember the second thing.
Just talk about the first thing.
I don't remember the first thing because I don't know if that was the first or the second.
Really?
Oh, okay. So
We really are professionals.
we are. So earlier this week, Krista, Bob, and I had a really tough discussion
About something.
About something, and it was related to. And I'm not gonna say exactly what it was because I don't need everybody's like giving 1,000 opinions and leading people off because I'm not sure where I land on it yet. But we had a really hard discussion around something regarding to race and racism, and I was like, of course this is racism. Like, just, of course. Like, I didn't need any evidence. I was just like, this was.
You didn't want to look into it.
No, I already knew. It was
You
written.
are 100% sure.
This thing, we were talking about something that was written, and it was written by a person who happened to own slaves, and I was just like, they wrote it and they own slaves, and there it is. It's racist. And through many conversations, not just with Bob and Krista, because I was like, I don't know if we can have any more questions, more conversations right in this moment. But through many conversations, and one conversation with someone I was being interviewed by, I was really pushed back on in thinking like, hey, are you still believing in this CRT rhetoric? Like, are you holding a position that's just simply based on narrative? And narrative being one of the key components to critical race theory. And after I had prayed about it a little bit, had talked to some people about it, I really realized that what I was doing, whether right or wrong in what was written, I was upholding a stand that said, because it looks like racism, it must be racism, whether I have evidence to prove it as racism or racist or not. And because of the way that I, was educated in school and conversations in the community and things like that, everyone else said it was racist, and, white people are the only ones who realize that this isn't racist. I didn't realize just how much CRT was like lingering back there, just there, and it just popped out. And, I apologize to you and Bob, because I was really strong, like in my stand and even in my wording and my tone and stuff like that. And, but I was really shocked. And so I say all this to say, like, even, 2 years later, where it seems like I would definitely be beyond a lot of this thought process, and I am, but there's still some times where it's like, oh man, like that just popped up. That just kind of like, whoa, it's kind of like, don't walk up on me at night, because, I'm from the hood, so you might get some of me. But that CRT thing just kind of, I was like, oh, wow. Once I realized it, I was like, as Christians, we need evidence. We don't just, issue a verdict.
Because my position in the conversation was like, hey, I'm open to that. Let's talk about it. Let's look some things up. Let's research it. Let's differentiate between facts and opinions and convictions and just rampant speculation. Like, let's look things up. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I was looking at it as, establishing the truth of the matter by using 2 or 3 witnesses is a biblical principle. Mm-hmm. But for you, the way that you experienced that and heard that was, that's what you're doing to shield yourself because you're racist and how you're thinking about it. You didn't want to take 10 minutes.
Or that all white people think about it this way, because they just don't know the history. And it immediately put it back into a us and them kind of narrative. And man, when I tell you that I was so shocked by the end of the day, or, like by 3:00, I was like, man, here it is still. And so I say all this to say, have grace with people who may be in this worldview or framework, and have grace with people who are walking out, because and have people who are, dealing with other things, because you just don't know what you don't know sometimes. Yeah. I didn't realize. I would have been like, no, like I don't believe
you were 100% sure.
I was 100% sure, one. But two, I would have also said I'm 100% sure that I'm not one for narrative. Like that everything is based just on narrative or on my truth, or, like that
You thought you were past that.
Yeah, I would say we always need evidence until this conversation came up, and I was like, I got all my evidence. It's written right here. Well, so, man, there's just so much to glean and to learn always.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that it takes people time to come out of a whole framework, because how we think about the world is what I call a web of beliefs. Mm-hmm. And things are interconnected. And so as we're changing and growing, if we're adopting a different major scale worldview or framework, that can take time. Things can pop up. So we gotta, I like what you said, is just be patient with each other.
Be patient, have grace,
yeah,
but speak truth, and that's one of the things that I appreciate, is that y'all wasn't lightening up or lightening. I don't even know if that's a word. Y'all weren't, giving in. You weren't going to not speak truth, and when I say truth, you're not gonna, say, well, hey, okay, we really don't need evidence on this one. No, as Christians, word tells us that we have evidence.
Yeah, and you were emotional, but Bob and I were kind of standing our ground of like, well, let's look into this.
Yeah.
Let's look at some facts. So
yeah.
Jeremy's got people are starting to put in some of their favorite episodes in the chat, which I love. So do that. Let us know which episodes have been meaningful to you. Can you scroll down a little bit, Bob, there?
Oh, Abuna Anthony.
There we go. Jeremy says, my favorite one last year was the one you did about the riots. That was the one that was called Uncultured. That was the one that like kind of had the most views up until then. And it got the most shares. And that's when our viewership went from 20 people up to like thousands.
Really? I thought
quick.
it was the one with Edwin.
And that was the one right before Edwin.
Okay.
It was in that same week. Can we go back out to Jeremy's comment?
We have to make sure that we the time.
Yeah. Okay. I listened while I was taking a long trip out of my looting ravaged neighborhood to find an open bank.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy lives in Chicago. God used it to help me think through everything. Kristen said she loved the recent episode with Cal Beisner. Lots of votes for our Boona Anthony episode. Many people found that interview interesting. That's awesome. Glad to see that. So, okay, you ready for our first guest?
Let's do it.
All right, our first surprise guest. Oh, his camera's not on. It's just a cartoon. There he is.
What's up, Joe Miller? Dr. Joe Miller.
Soon to be Dr. Joe
Yeah,
Miller.
Doctor. I need to get on that level. Dr. Mo. How you doing?
I am here.
There you
Hey,
go.
how are you ladies doing?
Doing well.
Well, soon to be Doctor, yeah.
Now we
That's
had
Reverend Doctor, you.
you-
I'm doing okay, man.
now we had Joe Miller on
doing
last
great.
summer.
I just realized, dude,
What?
I was talking to you guys too early. I was listening live, and then I got the whole time lag thing off.
Oh, okay. So we talked to Joe Miller last summer.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It was actually like
Now
almost
I
a
don't
year
hear you
ago.
at all. This is terrible. Hold on 1 second.
That's all right. Keep going. And we had
I'm
Joe
sure
on,
my sound
and we were
was bad.
talking
I should have-
about.
This is why when you don't do pre-show, this is why it doesn't work out well.
Who are you talking to, Joe? You talking to us? Sorry.
Now you
I'm
switched.
okay.
You switched microphones,
Oh.
but that's okay. You're on your AirPods now.
I know.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I got it up. I got it right now. All
right.
That's my bad eyesight. I switched the wrong ones.
I feel your pain.
It helps me.
So we had
fun.
Joe on talking about Margaret Sanger last summer
Yes.
and scientific racism. A very popular show that we still get comments about. We're going to have Joe on again soon. So thank you. And why don't you tell our friends kind of our partnership with Joe?
So, Dr. Joe Miller partners with us through, well, I would say through his Center for Cultural Apologetics, but he sits on our advisory council, and he is the one, along with a few others, who offers insight and information, wisdom into the things that we put out as far as education goes. So any definitions you see, any like thoughts like that would go down the education vein, they all come from our think tank of people with PhDs who we can consult on matters of like, hey, what do you think about, this paper that was released on critical race theory or one of the critical social theories? What do you think about this that was released on culture?
He's helped us with some social media
Yeah.
posts. Yeah. So
And so he actually wrote the
Yeah, it's been
glossary
fun.
for the Reconcile curriculum. Just a fountain of wisdom. And I think the Margaret Sanger video from me, not video, but episode from me, just really enlightened me into an area of systemic racism that is like a true issue as opposed to some of the things that I think culture's presenting. Because I had no idea, really.
So, Joe, maybe you can give us a little thumbnail
Yeah.
about that episode on scientific racism that we did last summer. Encourage some people that have
Sure.
new and found the ministry.
Well-
Go back and check that out.
Yeah, I will. But before I do that, I got to say, I watched your first episode there from your very first show. And I have to say that is proof that God equips the called and not the equipped. And I am very proud to love you guys. No, seriously, you give hope to everybody that they too can overcome, because certainly
We were struggling.
that
You too can overcome.
well, like you were 12 and you like were pre-pubescent radio person, and somehow like in the process of this, like you matured into full womanhood just through the whole process. It was funny. You like were deer in the headlights. That was awesome. I want to.
Yeah. Seriously, I don't know what happened or at what point like the shift happened, but yeah.
Oh man, one awkward show was I had the bright idea of having Lori Stewart on the show from Women in Apologetics. She was our first guest, and it was about the Unplanned movie about abortion and Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and all this stuff. Well, what people didn't know was that Monique was pretty still like pro-choice at that point.
Gasp. You putting out my business?
So I had this bright idea that I would have Lori Stewart on the show, the ex-feminist. We were going to talk about this.
Yo, I got no love. There was no love on the show for me those days.
But it made you better and stronger, and it made you into the great show you guys are doing on now. Anyway, I just couldn't pass up a little bit.
No,
of,
that was good.
My own thoughts on that episode. I thought it was good. It was awesome. But no, hey, so yeah, I enjoyed coming on and talking about the Margaret Sanger thing, and that was, it's a small part of a lot of the work that I've been doing and my own explorations of race issues and what that and how the biblical worldview can really help us resolve some of those conflicts that we're seeing daily in our life. And it was the Sanger stuff, the eugenics movement, and how the farther we moved away from a biblical worldview of created in the image of God, hey, Imago Dei, we're in it even today. The farther we move from that worldview into accepting the scientific worldview that there is no creator, there is no purpose, there is no design, man, the more trouble we get into. So
we're going to have you on the show again very soon. Maybe give us a little teaser as to what we're going to be doing with you.
well, I don't know. You guys bumped me to like the fall, so I'm not feeling loved. So it is hurtful a little bit. See, this is my heart.
We got
It's
a
like that.
lot of people.
I know. Well, you got to prioritize the important ones first. That's all
Oh,
right.
gosh.
No, I love you guys. No, so yeah, I think the show I believe we're going to do is we're going to talk a little about slavery in the United States specifically, and there was a big shift that occurred in the middle of the 19th century on how slavery was viewed. And I'm not going to tell people what that shift really was, but it's a system obviously that existed for centuries before that. But in the United States, there was a unique shift that happened, even in the United States slavery, in the middle of that century, in the middle of the 1800s. And that was a huge factor in the way we perceive even what the institution of slavery means today, the way we perceive race. And there was several factors that really that came together to make that radical shift in how slavery was viewed. And so, yeah, it's going to be an interesting episode to talk about. It's some of the stuff I've studied that's really fascinating. When you get into the primary source people that are talking about this and the stuff they say, even as believers, man, it is wild.
So tell us, we got about 1 minute left with you, but I'd be curious for you to just share like the 1 minute version of what you're working on in your doctoral dissertation right now. I think people will find that interesting.
Yeah, so I'm at the home stretch. Lord willing, I'll be done the next month or so. But I'm looking at Adam and Eve, the historic Adam and Eve. And I believe that if we look at that doctrine as the beginning point for our discussion of human sacredness, it provides the most coherent argument against racism, especially over other forms of, like, say, theistic evolution. And I'm not saying anybody that's a theistic evolutionist is a racist. It's not a CRT for believers kind of view. Everybody who doesn't believe like me is a racist. I'm not saying anybody who disagrees can't even argue against racism. But I do think if you want the most well-rounded, the best argument against racism comes from that biblical worldview that sees God as our creator, that all humans are created in the image of God, B'Tselem Elohim, and that we all have that inherent sacredness and worth and value. And I think that's the beginning point for the strongest argument against what we see today happening in our world.
Awesome. We want to encourage everyone to go get connected with our friend Joe Miller's ministry and his podcast, More Than Cake, and all the good work that he is doing over there with his partners in ministry. And we're just so grateful for your friendship,
Yes.
Joe. Thank you.
So thankful.
I'm glad I get to be a part of your stuff and just see you guys and the growth you guys have gone through. It's wonderful. It's amazing. You're doing amazing things serving the Lord. So keep it up. You give me and a lot of other people hope that as we fight these certain fights, we're not alone. So I'm so thankful for your voice in this.
Definitely,
whole
we need
process.
each other for sure.
Yes.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
ladies.
All right.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so next we've got a guest in the waiting room, but we're going to do something exciting here.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the reconciled curriculum.
Yes.
That's coming. So tell everyone again, when is it coming out?
Reconcile curriculum comes out on July 31st.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is a small group study, 6 weeks, and we're going to have our launch party for it when?
Thursday, July 29th during our family meeting time.
So it'll be like a special edition of the family meeting. We're going to have a cavalcade of surprise guests if Monique can ever get them booked. So we'll just leave that right there.
or it's going to be an interview with me.
Or it's going to be a very long interview with Monique about the curriculum. So we've been running a contest this week. Boy, my voice is already tired. So we're going to draw 2 names
Yes.
right now.
So the 2 names that we're drawing are from people who have already pre-ordered the curriculum. So we actually did a contest this week. So it started on Sunday. Anyone who pre-ordered curriculum between last Sunday and today at noon Pacific would be entered into a drawing to have a conversation for an hour on Zoom with you and me. And we didn't want to leave out
I don't
the
know
people.
what kind of prize that is.
I don't know either.
Does
But you
anyone
know
really
what?
want that prize?
But then if you had already ordered, we threw your names in too. And so now everyone all together, anyone who's pre-ordered before noon today is entered into this drawing. We will select 2 winners to have these 1-hour conversations with. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I don't need. It's up to the person.
It is. It really
Are
is.
you ready to spin the wheel?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Spin the wheel.
So if you pre-ordered before midnight last night, you have been entered into the drawing.
it was before noon.
Whenever.
Noon today.
Whatever. All right. You're in.
We've got about 350 entries here.
350 entries. You don't see all the
353.
names,
Yes.
but they're all in there. They're all in Bob's special randomizer. Okay, here we go.
Names. We're going to shuffle it up a little bit here.
All right.
And here we go.
All right, we got the 70s disco music.
Hey.
Woo! All right, our first winner, Allison Hamilton.
Allison Hamilton.
Woo!
Awesome. We will send you an email to confirm. And yes, we will be setting up an appointment with you to have a conversation.
I don't know what we're going to talk about.
You
It
talk
was
about-
almost Marla. Did you see that?
No.
It's almost Marla.
It.
Yeah.
Marla neighbor?
Yeah. She's like our neighbor.
There it is.
All right, let's
right.
do the second winner. Here we go.
All right. Going to shuffle her up here a couple times. And
Okay.
here we go.
I feel like I need some roller skates when I listen to this. Oh,
Oh, Virgin!
It's Virgin.
Yay!
Woohoo! She was in our class. All right. Congratulations, Virgin. Look forward to talking to you. So we will send
email
you
out to you.
a follow-up email and set up a time. Okay. Now we have another giveaway in a little while for 2 tickets for the Discipleship Begins at Home conference that's coming up in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So if you want to enter, all you have to do is comment during the live stream. We have a super secret helper who is gathering all the names, and then we'll put them in Bob's randomizer. Okay. So if you want to be entered have a chance to win a free ticket, we're going to give away 2 of them to the Discipleship Begins at Home conference. You can do that by commenting right now. And if you don't win, you can get a 10% off for anybody who wants it for the conference. Just use the promo code PARTNER10 in all caps. You can see it in the top right-hand side of the screen there. PARTNER10. You get 10% off the Discipleship Begins at Home conference. It's in 2 weeks. There will be no show that night because we will be doing the conference. We will be exhausted by then. Okay, so you can go find out more about it. I think we're going to play a little video later in the show about the conference and more information. Okay, you ready for the next super secret guest?
Let's do it.
Who's going to help us celebrate our 100th show?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's see if he's there. Him and his beard. He has no mic or camera. There he is.
What's up, E?
No microphone hooked up. You have to select the microphone.
Got to select a microphone, bro.
Nuh-uh, can't nobody hear you. You want
There it is.
There we go.
Grace and
What's
peace
up?
Hey, Edwin. Mr. Edwin Ramirez, everyone.
for the laughs. Praise the Lord.
How you been?
I mean, it was just neat to see where the Lord brought y'all from.
Won't he do it? Won't he
And
do
just
it?
It's like your face of confusion and like, what are we doing? For how long?
And we're doing this next week again?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was great.
I didn't
That
know.
was great.
I did not know.
And she was still pretty entrapped in CRT. And so I had this great idea. We'll just have a podcast about it.
That's awesome. Praise God.
But there were so many topics that she would say, like, well, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about policing. We can't talk about that.
Because police are racist. Can't talk about that.
all
That
police
was literally my come from. Sorry, friends.
All police are racist. I was like, oh, okay, we can work on that.
Kenzie, you don't need to go back and watch that. That's foolishness. It's not of God. We do not need to go back there. That's a mess. So, Edwin, we had Edwin Ramirez on. He hosts his own podcast, The Proverbial Life, which is awesome. And when you came on, you were talking about like leaving social justice. Wasn't leaving social justice. It was about like the whole George Floyd incident.
It was right after
George Floyd.
Right after George Floyd, and he came on and he gave his testimony about coming out of CRT. And I called the show "Coming Out of CRT." That show was like right after our Uncultured show last spring. And that was really where people like started finding us, and things just started blowing up. And we literally had 35 followers in April. Our videos had like 15 views.
Edwin came on.
And then Edwin came on, and the whole thing just kind of blew up for us.
Yes, yes. I'm so thankful.
You all have been faithful and speaking on issues that people are dealing with. So the Lord definitely honored it. Praise God.
Yeah. And now I see right behind you, you got Thaddeus's book. Your story is also featured in that book with Monique's.
Yep. Fantastic book. Definitely get it if you don't have it. And if you have it, share it. I've actually come across people in my town that have actually read the book and found out that my story was in there. And there's a parishioner at my church whose brother read the book and called his sister and said, "Is this your pastor?" And she said, "Yeah." And so, "Oh, wow, your pastor is in this book." And so it was pretty neat to have that. And we've had great conversations following that. So that was pretty neat.
That's awesome.
Did you know those were my arms on the cover?
I did. Yep.
You tell everybody.
Do.
Yeah, I know because you told me about 4 or 5 times, but yep.
See, thank you. Thank you.
It's no love. No love. All right.
Oh, gosh.
Man, sorry.
Now-
I was trying to read a comment.
Now, can I tell the story of how I found Edwin?
Yes, please.
All right.
And now it's gonna be your turn.
'Cause-
Look at his face. He like, wait a minute. We don't be telling stories like that. Let me tell a story about you. Go ahead.
So I saw
gonna come for
Edwin.
you.
I saw Edwin on a podcast, on a live stream, like 2 years ago, and he was on there with Jamal Bandy, and I see you got Jamal's hat right behind you there, and he was talking about how he used to believe in social justice and critical race theory, and you were still pretty mixed up in that, and I remember him talking about his experience, and it was still kind of fresh on his own journey out of that. And that just gave me hope, like that somebody could actually change their mind about this. And also that it wasn't biblical. Like, he was the first person I ever heard say, this isn't biblical. This isn't how we should love our fellow Christians. And it was like a lifeline for me of hope. And then when I heard, I didn't say anything to you about him. And then when I heard that he was featured in Thaddeus's book and it was the same guy, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Because then you were kind of more open to talking about, other voices.
I remember this completely different.
And so then we had him, Thaddeus got you connected with him.
Yes. But I remember you listening to the podcast, and I feel like that just kicked up your gumption.
Well, it gave me a lot of courage. Yeah.
Like, have you heard of that? You need to listen. Come listen. And I was always like, no, I'm good. I'm cool. I don't need to listen. But I think when you found out that there was somebody who had come out of critical race theory and was serving Jesus, you were like, that can be you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So you're creating all kind of problems. You didn't even know it, Edwin.
Praise God.
Can you share a little bit about your story with people who are unfamiliar? In your story in like coming out of critical race theory, like what brought you out? Like why?
Yeah, that's good. There's so many, it's been about 3 years now, give or take, that I've been out of that movement. And I'm still uncovering layers. In fact, I had a really good conversation with my wife a couple weeks ago, and she just really peeled back some more layers that just kind of got lost in this whole transition of coming out of it. But the long and short of it was about 3 years ago, we had moved from Florida to New York. Prior to moving, I was a pastor in Florida. And I was really, and at that time I wasn't woke. But there were some events that had taken place that I was kind of wrestling with in my mind. I think it was the Eric Gardner that had taken place then, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so we moved, and I really struggled with my identity, right? My identity was wrapped up in pastoring and teaching and preparing messages and that whole sphere. And so now I'm moving from a place where I was in a teaching position to now I don't have a job, I have a family, and I'm living in my mother-in-law's, upstairs with my wife and 2 kids. And so it was a really difficult transition for me. And I think around that time, I was very vulnerable in my mind. And so fast forward, President Trump wins the election 2018, and I still wasn't, I was woke-ish, but I think around 2018 this is when Jamar Tisby said that we need to leave the church. he started talking about whiteness, and I started listening to a lot of his stuff. And it for me, I had an aha moment. Like, there are Christians who believe this woke worldview. And at the time, I didn't know it was a woke worldview, but there are Christians who are speaking about injustice and whiteness and privilege. I'm reformed in my doctrine. And so it almost like, it almost intensified it for me, because on paper they're reformed in their doctrine. So it was almost as if, all the signs were there. Like, yes, there's finally a group of people that believe what I have felt and what I've seen. And now here we are. And then I just went headlong. I started listening to Robin DiAngelo and Peggy McIntosh. And so what the Lord used to bring me out, I tell this to people, what the Lord used to bring me out of the movement was truth. And he used different means along that path. So he used people on social media. He used my wife. He used people asking me questions and kind of pressing me. And so he used a lot of different means. And then I think one of the catalysts for me was I came across AD Robles's videos. And, AD, and it helped that he was a person of color, excuse me. And so that really helped me, because, for my other friends who were speaking, some of them were white, and it was like, well, this is your white fragility showing itself. And then for my wife, who was kind of questioning and pushing back, it was like, well, you're my wife. You just don't get it. You don't understand. And then when I heard AD and others who were not white pressing me, it was like, whoa. And so I remember one time being home ironing my clothes, and I just went on like an AD like blitz. I just listened to all his videos one day. And I remember telling my wife, wow, like it all clicked. The conversations that people were having with me behind the scenes, my wife's questions, and just a bunch of different things. My theology, what I believed initially, like, of what Christ accomplished for us at the cross. And, so all that just clicked when I just listened to these videos by AD for hours. And then I listened to the people that he was talking about and having interviews with, and it just really just came together. And yeah, it was like the light. So I'll stop after this, but coming into the movement, it was like this, right? I don't believe it. And now, boom, I believe this. And now I'm all in. And then coming out of the movement, I believe this now. Boom, I don't believe this. And now I'm at the place where, praise the Lord, I'm set free. And now I want to, and I've done this by the Lord's grace, is really speak out against it. Because if you follow this worldview to its logical conclusion, you cannot have a favorable, objective feeling toward white people. Like you're just going to have an angst toward white people in general. Like if you take it to its logical conclusion, and then you're going to have a misrepresented view of people of color on the basis of their color, right? On the basis of their ethnicity, not on the basis of what they believe and all that. So that in a nutshell, that's really what the Lord used, different means to bring me out of it.
That's so good, Edwin. I'm so glad you shared some of those different means, because that's something that Monique and I are always trying to say when people are talking to people who are trapped in this framework, to trust the Lord. The Lord will work with that person and pray with them, because it's not just a one conversation thing. It's, you might have some conversation. Someone might ask you a question. The Lord might bring a situation across your path, and Holy Spirit's doing his thing. And it's a lot of things that bring people out of this. It's not just one magical moment. So getting so many good comments from people who appreciated your story in the show when you were on with us before. So thank you for being a friend of the ministry. Yes. Edwin's one of our book group leaders.
Going to be a breakout speaker at UP.
He's going to be speaking at the UP conference. So we just appreciate so much your friendship with us, Edwin.
Likewise. Thank you both for what you do. And keep pressing on and keep exalting the Lord Jesus Christ.
You as
Definitely.
well. Thanks for being here.
All right.
Yes,
Thanks,
you. Thank you
Edwin.
for having me. Yep, God bless you.
God bless.
All right,
Bye
Bye.
bye. Okay. That's fun.
Danielle on Facebook says, the bitterness is evident. It's so sad to see.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I thought you said something interesting, and I heard Edwin say it just now there too, is just how much freedom there is on this side of it. Like, there's freedom just to love everyone.
Yeah, it is. I think critical race theory, because it's such a binary concept or framework, it leaves us in our tribal groupings. And so I'm suspicious of anyone who isn't in my tribe. I have certain beliefs about anyone who's not in my tribe. And so once the walls or the boundaries are taken off of that mindset, or the person who's upholding that mindset, it's kind of like, man, I can love you. Like I can hold your hand. I can be cool with you. I don't have to mistrust you automatically. Like, and I say this all the time, and this is where the family model even came from, was the fact that we are brothers and sisters, and I can fight just as hard for you as I would fight for my own siblings, because we're family, and that we are family regardless of color. Like, I don't have to start out from a place of distrust or suspicion just because of skin color.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was just so freeing. But I love the fact that he also brought up, like, he and Sarah, his wife, had, just had a conversation where he was like, man, like, I still got some of this in the background too. I was like, amen, brother. We still got some things in the background.
The Lord's working with you.
I want to answer Kimberly. Is it Kimberly? Kimberly Vick's question. She want, yeah, it's just an email address, and so she's looking to support us during the UP conference and volunteer. And so it's the email address, if you would like to serve during the UP conference, is up2021 at centerforbiblicalunity.com. I spaced it out because it was coming back funky. It does not need to be in caps. It can be in caps. It's not going to change it either way. So just so you know that it's up2021 at centerforbiblicalunity.com.
Cool. All right, you ready for the next person?
Whoop, whoop. Let's do it.
All right, let's see who's there. There she is.
It's the aunties. Hey. How you doing? Oh, wait.
Good. I was muted.
There you go.
That's all right. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you girls?
Good. We just chilling, 100th episode, just doing our little thing.
Just a little 100th episode.
Yes.
So awesome.
Now, I mean, I really love her. I love me some Alisa Childers. Yes, I do. Many people don't know it, or maybe they do, but our ministry really was launched, I feel like, or propelled because of the interview that we did together. Yeah. And like,
that was last June.
It was last June, and it just went everywhere. Until recently, it was her number one interview, and then somebody came along and kicked me out the nest, and I was like,
yeah.
But it was so good.
It was really, really popular. And I just remember when I interviewed you, because, I'd been dealing with I just saw my hair in the monitor. It's totally messy bun day. So,
girl, we family. It's okay. Just live it.
I was like, wow, that is a really messy bun. Anyway, so I remember interviewing you, and just with all the work I'd done in progressive Christianity, I remember thinking, it's your turn, Monique. Like, you're up, batter up, because it was just, especially in progressivism, but also just even in the broader church, critical theory was just becoming such an influential ideology. And so, I was so happy. I know, but also Natasha Crane gets a lot of credit, I think, as well, because around that same time, she wrote an article that just went massively viral. And she was like, everybody go follow Center for Biblical Unity.
It was in the same week that your three things happened in a span of 8 days. Your podcast dropped, Natasha Crane's blog post went viral, and Nancy Piercy tweeted about Monique.
That's right.
And those three things, we went from 35 followers to like 10,000 in
In
a few
a
days.
week, yeah.
It was crazy. And thankfully, we had some videos that we had recorded like a year before on some of these issues, because all of a sudden people were flooding us with, well, what about this? What about this? And those videos that only had like 15 views, 35 views. But then we started pushing them out and people started finding us through that content. But what a lot of people probably don't know is that you actually did that interview with Monique twice.
Yes, that's
That was a 4-hour day or something like
was-
that. That was so awesome. And then we went and got lunch. And I mean,
So
virtual.
the original plan was that Elisa was going to interview both of us.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
the Lord had told me very clearly that I was not to be on that interview.
And I was so upset.
She was so mad. And I had to go to her and I said, the Lord says this is not for me. And she was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to be all by myself? And it was kind of the Lord's way of sort of pushing her out of the nest. Like, okay, go fly now. Because she had really been, we had done everything together up until that point. And so...
And we met that. I mean, I knew you for further back, Krista, but Monique and I met that day.
Yeah, you'd never met before.
Yeah, we met that day.
And it was super tense. Like, I remember this is why we did it twice, because we did this really polite version first, where I think both of us were like getting used to each other. And I knew, like, I was thinking, man, after it was done, I was just thinking, I was feeling like I didn't do a very good job because I wasn't asking good questions. We were both super nervous. And then Krista kind of popped her head in and was like, well, that was very polite.
Yeah. AKA that sucked. Yeah.
It was like her really nice way of saying, yeah, well, that was the polite version. Why don't you do the prophetic version? And you said something along those lines, Krista. And I just remember thinking, man, if they're up for doing it again, and you did, you had to have a little in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went and got in and out, and we sat here and kind of had a virtual lunch with you.
Yeah.
And I felt like what the problem was is you two didn't know each other, and I could sense that you were very nervous.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, yeah, the world is burning down. People are confused. Everything's emotional. And I kind of had to pull you aside and say, look, you're not going to offend Monique. Just ask her the questions you want to ask her.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay. And so you were both kind of in the risk of, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're right. It was right at the absolute height of the rioting and everything happening with the George Floyd thing. And everybody was sort of scrambling, trying to figure out what was going on, the moral panic. I mean, it was so intense. And, little did we know that we became like BFFs really quick.
Exactly.
So,
It's like, what? Yeah. So
Totally.
if you are not following the Auntie Elisa Childers, and now everybody calls you the Auntie.
I love that so much. I love it.
So if you are not following the one and only Auntie Elisa Childers, you should do so on YouTube and on Facebook. Visit her website at elisachilders.com. She's on Instagram, putting out all kind of great content, interviewing all kind of great people.
Well, I think what's interesting about both of your ministries is that, there's so much crossover. People become entangled in woke ideology, sometimes through progressive Christianity as sort of a natural destination, and vice versa. People who get mixed up with critical race theory often also go down the path of progressive Christianity. And so the friendship between you two is absolutely genuine. And I think that friendship and how your ministries kind of help each other in covering different topics, but to similar people is very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the content coming up, and I just have to say this because it's so relevant to just this show. My next podcast, which comes out tomorrow, is with Edwin, who was just your guest. And so that'll drop tomorrow. But then the one that's after that is another conversation with you, Monique. So we have part 2 coming up just before your curriculum launches and releases. And so it's like Edwin and Monique month on the Elisa Childers podcast in July.
I can't wait to hear Edwin's video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
It's really good.
yeah, he's just, he's solid. He is so solid. I really appreciate him. And I really appreciate you.
Oh.
So thanks for being with us and hanging out for a little bit.
Yes.
Tell the fam we
Absolutely.
said
I love you
hello.
guys.
Yes.
What's that?
I said, tell the fam we said hello.
Oh, I will tell the fam. I will. And they miss you guys. They miss both of you.
Yes.
And so hopefully you'll come back into town soon and stay down in my basement.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
come back and watch some Seinfeld with Mike.
Yes.
No. Giddy
up.
You and I can go get our nails done or something. Do something
Monique,
productive.
you and I will go get our nails done, and Krista and Mike can listen to country music.
Yes. Country
And
music
then-
and Seinfeld.
And we can just be away.
Yes.
Not there.
Because nobody needs it. No.
Nobody needs that.
No one needs that. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
we love
Elisa.
you.
Bye-bye.
I love you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the drawing for the Discipleship Begins at Home conference.
Okay.
So we're going to watch a little promo video, and then we will have a drawing.
Let's do it.
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Pauly. I want to invite you to Discipleship Begins at Home virtual conference this July 23rd and 24th. This Friday evening and all-day Saturday conference will have 4 keynote sessions, 6 breakout sessions focused on discipleship. Obviously a huge and important topic as we desire to raise students who leave the home with a biblical worldview and a faith grounded in God. My session is going to focus on why students are bored with their faith and what we can do to help build a deep, loving, committed relationship with God. So join me on July 23rd and 24th for this virtual conference that will educate you and equip you to disciple your students.
All right, we're so excited to be part of the Discipleship Begins at Home conference. If you want to find out more, just go to womenandapologetics.com, click on events, and you can get there. You can get 10% off by using the promo code partner10, and it has to be in all caps.
Yes.
So we will be speaking. If you want to know about our friend Pastor Jeremy Bannister, I did a live stream with him this past week. It's kind of like a little sneak peek on the conference, and you can find out more information. All right, we're giving away 2 tickets.
2 tickets to the Discipleship Begins at Home.
I can't even.
I was gonna say we're giving away 2 tickets to the disciples.
I can't even.
All right. Okay, sorry.
So if you made a comment during the first 45 minutes or so of the show, my secret helper has gathered all of those names, and they are now entered in Bob's randomizer.
Awesome.
So here we go.
All right, I'm gonna shuffle her up a few times. Here we go.
Hey, Andy
My
Mack.
cousin Andy, go ahead. We are really of no physical relation, only supernatural relation.
That's right.
Just, you know,
It's the best kind. All right, Andy. So write to us at attlivestream@gmail.com.
Yes.
And let us know that you won our drawing, and then we'll send you the super secret promo code so you can
Yes.
get the free ticket. All right, we're going to do
Andy
one more.
is an amazing artist.
Is he?
I hope I'm not putting too much of your business out there, but he is like, when I say amazing,
I didn't know
he is
this.
like an amazing artist. Like, yeah, I can't
Wow.
even begin. And I'm not like an art person, but I mean, just, it's fabulous.
That's very cool. All right, are we ready for the second one?
Let's do it again.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to shuffle her up.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, Tracy Guest.
Yay.
All right. So Tracy, email us at attlivestream@gmail.com.
Yes, attlivestream@gmail.com, and we will get you hooked up and connected.
She says, woohoo.
Yay.
And again, if you didn't win, that's okay. You can still use the promo code and get 10% off. You use the promo code partner10 in all caps and get 10% off. And we want to see you there.
What are you speaking on at the conference?
Oh
goodness.
I'm doing the last keynote. They're having me do it, and I'm still kind of working on it. But it's going to be on. Hey, you're revealing who's going to be on there.
No, only you can see.
Oh, okay, good. So
Keep going. Don't mind me, people.
But we're going into the infinite regress. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what am I speaking on? What obstacles hinder parents from discipling their kids and how to overcome them? Like if a lot of parents just lack confidence about how to disciple their kids, are afraid they're gonna not teach them the right information. They maybe don't have a very well developed worldview themselves. So how can parents equip themselves to be able to have the conversations with their kids and disciple their kids? So that's the keynote I'm doing. The breakout session I'm doing is on work. Work is a critical part of the Christian worldview. So how can we disciple our kids when it comes to work? Yes. That's what I'm speaking on. All right.
You do believe in work? Your kid's been working a long time. Yes.
I do believe in it.
Yes.
All right.
You want to know what I'm talking about? Never mind.
I don't know. What are you talking about? You haven't written your talk yet, so I don't know. Yeah, please tell us.
Wow. It's outing me to the public. No, I haven't written my talk yet, but it'll be there.
It's always on time.
It will be, yes. Yes, just like Jesus. Always on time. I'm talking about identity and how to raise your kids with a godly identity. Because I think the question that most young people, or the biggest question facing young people, is who are you? Who are you?
Well, the culture's ready to tell them.
The culture is ready to tell them, but it's the same question that I feel like we've been offered since the garden.
Yeah.
And so, how do we raise our kids to understand who they are? So when the culture comes and says, hey, this is who you are. Hey, you can choose to be. You're like, hold on. I can't choose because I've already been given something. Yeah. This is already filled. So I don't have any room to accept what you're offering me because it's already been filled with something that is true. So yeah.
Very good. All right. So we have our final surprise guest. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
The man who changed so many things.
Yes,
in our lives.
Yes, he did.
There he is. Let's see if he's going to turn on his camera.
Ooh, Candy talking about an old song. I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time.
Okay.
Is he coming? Is he coming?
There he is.
Hey.
Jamal
What's
Bandy.
up, Mr. Bandy?
What's going on, my sisters?
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
How you darn? How you living?
I'm living good. I'm blessed.
Blessed and highly favored. Come on.
Highly favored.
Yes. Now, Jamal was on a long time ago.
2 years ago.
Yes, 2 years ago.
Wow.
And we thought that it was very important to bring you back on just because your show, I think, changed so much in our show, like overall, but then it also really challenged me with a lot of things. Like what I don't think you know is that I was like, what in the world is he talking about for a lot of the show? I was sitting there like, Jesus be offense. Because I am not sure what in the world is really happening. Because I was still so steeped in a lot of the things that we were talking about. And you just had such a different view on a lot of things. And, I was trying to keep it polite and ask questions and agree where I could agree. But I remember that and just being like, man, this...
She low-key didn't like you for a long time.
That isn't true.
You know what?
That ain't true.
It's better late than never that I know.
See?
So it's all right. You know what? I kind of felt that just a little bit. Some of the conversations we had and the questions questions that came across, and maybe I was challenged myself, or maybe I'm laying on too thick. Maybe I need to dial it back, and I wasn't sure, but it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was good. I mean, it was good for me. It gave me a lot of things to think about. I had never really, aside from like Virgil Walker, I don't think I had seen anyone else, another Black person, talking the way that you talked, believing the things that you believed, and just with such strong conviction. And as confident as I was in CRT, you are just as confident, on the outside of CRT and in a biblical worldview. And I was like, my goodness, what is this sorcery here? How did we get here? Yeah. But
she was like, where'd you find this guy? She kept asking me, where'd you find this guy? I was like, I was listening to this podcast, and he was on there, with this other guy, and I just felt like the Lord was encouraging me to reach out to him, and she's like, I don't know. And oh man, she was so upset. Like literally up until
upset. Okay, sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
Up until a minute before we were live, she was up in the bathroom sick. Like she was like, I can't do this. And she was so nervous about even talking about this.
That is so true. I can't lie.
And I thought, am I going to just be on here by myself? What's going to happen? But it definitely was probably one of the most important shows that we ever did, just in terms of our journey. And it was so helpful for her to just see your face and talk to you and just hear someone with a really well-developed biblical worldview. And I remember when you wrote to me on the email when I first asked you, you're like, well, I'm not a professional. I've never been to Bible college. and I was like, it's okay. It's all right. And so just really appreciate your friendship and willingness to be in the risk with my crazy idea.
Yeah.
No.
And I mean, Jamal leads our, how many book groups have you led now? 3?
This will be my 3rd one that I'm on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
everyone's talking you up in the chat how much they love you as a book group leader.
Yeah, he leads our book groups now, and it's just a partner in the ministry. Like, man, when I say the family element, it's like the family. And so, yeah, I'm so thankful because, you, Edwin, others that we've talked to could have just been like, she coming on strong, or, I kind of get a sense like she might not like this, and just been, kept quiet.
Yeah.
And, and the same for you, even down to the conversation we had, I think it was 2 days ago. And I'm glad that people actually have the boldness and courage to say like, no, this here is actual truth, because my personality is very strong.
Really?
That look could kill.
But I mean, like, it's real. I was born with a strong. I feel like my mother would say I was born with, like, I cried strong. So, I was just strong, and that's great because I'm not like to put myself up, but there are people that I come up against or who come up against me, or the ideology, I'll say that, where it's like, no, look, we not talking to the family this way. We're not going to bring this up in the church. You're not going to come on my podcast, or you're not going to come on our social media platform with all that hoopla. You can miss me with that. Mm-hmm. And that's real. And it's not to be ungracious. I don't know if that's a word. It's not to be mean, but it is to protect the family.
Well,
that's the first thing.
We're glad Jamal was willing to show up 2 years ago.
That is, 2 years ago. But I just had a moment again the other day.
See, what I loved about you guys, and even as y'all was going through this journey and dealing with this subject, the dynamic that you have with Krista being Caucasian, and then you got Monique being Black, and being real with each other. I always found that the most interesting, especially as y'all traveled through these subjects, because y'all offered those perspectives, which made it helpful for anybody who was watching. So I always thought that was great. And I was just thankful to be a part of the journey, in that sense. That was great.
Yeah, I know you probably feel like the Lord just threw you in. It's like,
the Lord picked you,
Jamal. How did I get up in here?
Yeah, because because like I was telling Chris, like I'm not I'm not well versed in a lot of theological studies and all that. Like just very simple, when it comes to all of this. And because I was on the fence, I was on the fence with all of this. And Edwin, as he said in the chat, like I knew him when he was woke, so he was straight woke. And I was on the fence and I was hearing him. I'm like, okay, it sounds there, but I'm like, I'm not sure yet. And so when it came down to me, the logical conclusion, it just didn't fit. I couldn't see where the end was with all of this. And so that's what kind of had me like be more solid as far as where I stood. And I just stayed there. But man, I love listening to people like Virgil Walker, on their podcast. And I mean, they're when they bring out stuff, it just is like I say, it's more educated, more thought provoking,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just love listening to the things they bring to the table and others like them.
Wow. We appreciate you and your stand 2 years ago on a brand new podcast with a person who was semi-woke. I wasn't all the way in it, but I sure wasn't all the way out of it. That's for sure.
She wasn't. Sorry.
You just heing it up.
I'm just so grateful to the Lord, and how it's so fun to look back on how he orchestrated all of this.
It's definitely something different. That's for sure.
So
100 episodes.
Yeah. 100.
Wow,
it's a little crazy. Crazy to think of where we've been and where we are. And so
Edwin says, I almost had Jamal woke, but my woke plan failed.
Stop it. See, that was my plan with you.
She kept begging the Lord to convict me of my whiteness.
Yes. Yeah.
But praise God, it didn't work. The tables were turned.
Yes, they were overturned. Yes.
Oh, well,
all right.
Thank you so much, Jamal. We really appreciate your friendship and just being with us in ministry and helping our book groups and just being part of the family. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if y'all can ever get in a book group with Jamal, I say run for it. Get it. Yes.
I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all so much. Just your friendships and your sisterhoods to my brotherhood. Just really love you guys.
We love you too.
We love you too, Jamal.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, there's a question on Facebook.
Okay.
From Catherine Wright from. Sorry. She says, when did Monique come out of CRT? These stories are confusing me.
What's a long journey?
Girl, it was a long journey. I was just as confused as you were. I was like, am I in it? Am I out of it? Thursday, I was like, I am fully embraced.
It took a while. I mean, that was like a probably 12, 18 month process.
I came home from South Africa in 2018.
In June 3rd.
June 3rd, 2018. And we didn't start even having any of these conversations probably until about December, January of 2019.
Yeah.
And then by the end of 2019, because in November 2019, we received an invitation from Women in Apologetics to speak in January of 2020.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was such a mess because, okay.
No. Let me answer Catherine's question before we go down the yellow brick road of memories.
It's part of the timeline.
No, it's not.
It is
no, it's
part
not.
of the
No, it's
timeline.
not. No, it's not. Let me, Catherine, I got you. Because, see, she about
I
to take us.
created a whole situation.
Yes. So, in November, I had been probably even, I came home in June.
So, we started the show in March of 2019.
Yes. And when I came home in June of 2018, it had to be sooner than 6 months that we started talking about it. It was probably around November that we started having some of these conversations. At the June, I'd say November, 2018. By March of 2019, we started the show, and I was pretty torn between what I was going to believe and what I wasn't going to believe. And by November, I think I was more out than in, because Women in Apologetics invited us to come speak about critical race theory that January. And I remember being like, that's a hard no. And so
I kind of created a bit of a problem there because we talked to Jim. We launched the show in March of 2019. We interviewed Jamal in June of 2019. So she was still pretty in it, but it was sort of closeted. Like, we didn't talk about it publicly
We weren't talking about a lot of things publicly.
Of just how much she was still wrestling. And so we would talk behind the scenes. And so, like, when we did the show Unplanned about abortion, what people didn't know was that, you know, she was still wrestling through her own views of abortion. And then when she came, she was very strongly pro-choice. I was a little stunned and taken aback by it. But, you know, so that was part of the journey too. But there was just a lot of topics. If you go back, you'll see there's like whole topics we never would talk about.
We never talk about LGBTQ plus.
Yeah,
ever.
We never talked about policing. We never talked systemic racism, because those were all the things that she was still thinking through. And so we needed to allow space for that. So it was definitely a process. I think one other critical moment was the Women in Apologetics Conference, because I kind of made the commitment to them that we would give this talk. But I hadn't talked to you about it.
Yeah, okay, so did you hear that sentence setup?
Yeah.
I made the commitment
I
that
totally own that. Yeah.
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 Wasn't no wees up in here, okay?
No.
Wees did not agree.
That created a lot of conflict in our relationship, because she wasn't ready for that. And that was really a big mistake that I made. And I thought she was further along in the journey than she really was. And so crafting that talk in January 2020 was hard, because there were a lot of topics we could not discuss at that point. And so we had a lot of hard conversations of what content we were going to put in, what we could agree on, what we were going to leave out. And that talk raised her visibility, but it created a lot of hardship between us. So that was a mistake on my part. But what?
We can't see tonight. She said, so ATT started out as STT, some of the things.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm so glad that we did it, because people came up afterwards and said, wow, you put words to things that I've been thinking and feeling, but didn't have words or definitions to. Or, you know, my husband was fired, and they told him some of these exact words. And so...
And that opened your eyes to things.
That it was a little bigger.
So even in my mistake, the Lord was still in that and used that as part of your journey. And then the next month was like February of 2020. And we had Kyrillos on, our Coptic friend. And that was like, I think, another turning point.
It was another turning point, not just because we talked about like race things, but because we talked about
historical
the fact
things.
that Christianity is historical. So I had always had this view of Christianity, or my faith, as being like my faith, and, you know, you pray, but it's never anything that's really educational or things that I would, you know, study.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand seminary even.
Yeah.
And in having Kyrillos on, I understood that Christianity and my participation in Christianity, it was a part of something that was ancient, and that and was global. Even though I knew that people around the globe believed, I didn't understand the connection, like the ontological it would be the best word, the supernatural connection that we have as Christians. And so that's when I became interested in understanding, how did the first century church participate with each other?
Yeah.
And that was something that happened like after the Women in Apologetics Conference.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I want to know, how did the people who were closest to Jesus participate on issues of race, justice, and unity?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a whole journey. So hopefully that helps clear up the timeline.
Yeah, so it's January of 2019, we did Women in Apologetics, and I think I've just become more and more clear in my thinking around some things in regards to race, justice, and unity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say...
it was January 2020.
January of 2020.
2020.
So, yeah, 18 months maybe?
Yeah. That we've been...
Yeah, just a little younger than Edwin.
Someone's asking why we have the comments turned off on YouTube. It's because nobody's got time to monitor that.
Yeah.
And that's the lowest form of life. But you can always comment on Facebook and all the shows there. We just don't have it on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, Amy must have been Amy M. She said, I saw you at the WIA conference in 2022. And that spider, y'all. So I was on stage and I was so nervous. Like, and I had done public speaking. Like, I don't know. This just made me like cringe nervous. And now I am like arachnophobic. I can't with spiders. And here comes this huge white spider on an all black stage. And so all I can see is this white spider. And he walks, I don't know why I named him he, but this spider goes right past Krista and walks right up to me. And I was like, Lord, please, can you just make it all end? You know I don't want to be here no way. Please make it end, Jesus. And he literally walked right up to my boot. And so then I just took my little boot and I squished him. And then I took a break I said, can we just have a moment of honesty? I was doing spiritual warfare and you wasn't even aware. Yes, it was spiritual warfare. People don't understand.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Oh, well, this has been fun.
Yes, it has been. We did all of our drawings and, yeah. Oh, we do have a Mo's moment.
Yeah, let's do the Mo's moment.
Formality! What the glory go! Give it the glory go! Give it the glory go!
All right.
I just want to say thank you so much to Traveling Pack on YouTube. She says, not on Facebook, but I will go ahead and encourage you here. Just keep speaking truth. We all need it. Thank you. Thanks so much. We appreciate the encouragement. And you guys, all y'all, just so encouraging. But let's go to the Mo's moment. Kimba. Okay. Sorry.
Squirrel. Focus on the show, please.
Sorry. Goodness gracious. Okay, so I don't know if the last name is Ducey or Ducey. Signs the second bill banning critical race theory in Arizona. It says Governor Ducey has signed a bill into law prohibiting government agencies from requiring training in what's known as critical race theory. It comes as several state legislatures make similar moves to restrict how U.S. history can be taught and discussed. And when I saw this, I was like, this is really interesting. And I have a bit of a mixed approach, I think, or a mixed feeling. And we talked about this a little bit about this whole banning of critical race theory. I'm not one for necessarily banning thought, and saying, well, we just don't teach thought or different, ways of thinking. But I do think that it should all be taught in ways that are metered and gives all the thoughts equal play or equal playing time. And you can
well, it depends on, I think, what we're talking about. Like, if we're talking about bringing critical race theory into HR trainings for government employees, to me, that's one area where many HR people are talking about how that's not actually helping to build unity in workplaces.
But see, I don't see that
you have adults.
Thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things in relation to that. I don't see that as being the thought. I see that as being the movement. And so when I say I'm not against, having different ideas being put forward, I think of that more academically. And so like in dealing with college students, like, hey, here's this view, here's that view, and, allowing all the views to be presented. Because critical race theory is a movement, I think what we see when we look at things like DEI trainings or critical race theory as the tangible inside of trainings and like HR trainings and inside of classrooms, and not just CRT, but a lot of the critical social theories, I think those are parts of the movement. And I think it's important to differentiate between the movement and the framework that someone may be able to thread through.
Okay, so you're talking about in the competition of ideas in an academic context with college students, graduate students, we should have a competition of ideas, a genuine competition where pros and cons of various frameworks can be debated, arguments can be put forward.
Because that's thought.
Or
how I would define thought.
Okay, so that you would be for. But what's happening right now in colleges and in a lot of graduate school programs is only one framework is allowed.
Yes.
And we're going to learn data through this framework.
And see, I at that point would say that we're probably not even really teaching framework, but what we're doing is pushing movement.
Okay. So that's how you're defining that.
Yes. And so where people are like, we banned this, I kind of get, yes, I get that I don't want my 6-year-old to go to school and now be taught why he or she can identify as a tree because of queer theory, or choose their gender because of queer theory, or understanding why they and everyone who bears their skin color are now considered privileged, white supremacists, oppressors.
What you're
that's
for,
movement.
What you would be okay with is allowing the framework to be taught to adults in an academic environment where all frameworks are allowed. There's free competition of ideas. Mm-hmm. What you're calling movement sounds to me more like policies, where HR policies, diversity trainings, embedding it into the curriculum and conversation in public schools. That is toxic and dangerous.
Yes. So Delgado and Stefanchich wrote a book called I was going to say not the other Delgado, but if you don't know who Delgado and Stefanchich are, then you wouldn't know. But there's a book called Critical Race Theory and Introduction by Delgado and Stefanchich. And the opening line under what is critical race theory, it says the movement of critical race theory is like a group of scholars and activists. And so that lets me know that it's a movement. It's supposed to take us somewhere. It's not supposed to just sit in the lab, so to speak, or just remain this one little stagnant piece that doesn't do anything. Critical race theory is supposed to have outcomes. It's supposed to
be implemented
and shift
into
society.
Policies.
Yes, it's supposed to shift society. And when people say, well, it's just a legal theory, it's not just a theory at all. It's a movement. It's meant to do something.
But see, you have prominent Christian voices in Christian academia that are telling pastors, this is just a branch of legal studies. That's all this is. So there's no contradiction between critical race theory and historic Christianity because it's just this obscure branch of legal studies from the late 1970s. That's all it is. But we're way past
that.
And now we're in the what you are calling movement, or policies being embedded into our workplaces, into our school curriculums, into our public school.
Well, that's one side of it. That's
places.
One side of the movement.
Okay.
The other side of the movement, in my personal opinion, because it also has tentacles back to conflict theory. The other side of it would be things like riots, the upending of society in certain regards. And so to me, the movement even has two veins. But yes, I think Candy said, I would ban it in places where it can't be discussed amongst other ideas. Yes, I completely agree with that. And HR training isn't a place where we're going to sit and, well, how do you think about this?
6-year-olds in public school, we're not going to debate the framework.
Yes.
Now it's at the policy level.
Yes.
It's at the movement level.
It's at the movement level because what it's saying is that everyone must move toward this way of thinking, whether you agree or disagree. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I'm torn because I don't want to have a rush to ban ideas, But when the ideas themselves ban any other competitive thought or idea and turn into an activist movement, how do you really stop that? I think you have to stop it by saying we're not going to have this in our state.
I think that what I'm finding that most of the objections to critical race theory now are something along the lines of either you don't understand it. Mm-hmm. That's a frequent answer. You don't, and the implication of that is if you did understand it, you would embrace it. If you don't want critical race theory, then you don't want to talk about racism. You're a racism denier. If you don't want critical race theory in your schools, then you are not for an accurate view of history. You're not for truth telling. These are the basic rejoinders that I'm hearing in the public square. And even if you tell people, no, I actually do understand what critical race theory is, and I'm still against it, and we can still have a conversation about racism, and we can still talk about history and our struggle as a country with race issues, but I don't need critical race theory to do that. Those views are completely demonized. It's either critical race theory
or the highway,
or you are a racist bigot who is ignorant and uninformed. And that is how entities like the National Education Association are framing up the public conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where I say, well, you know, if it's going to be a movement and we're going to push the movement, and the only way to stop the movement is to stop the idea, then, you know, I would have to go along with that, because what I don't want is a child to be indoctrinated into something that would be so soul damaging.
Yeah.
As, you know, some of these social theories.
Candy's asking, there are other ideas that we ban, like ethno-nationalism? I don't know if we do. I mean, if you go to college, the whole idea traditionally of classical liberalism is the fierce competition of ideas. Now, we might say ethno-nationalism, it doesn't have good arguments, or we don't like these arguments, or they're immoral. But I think that having a table with a lot of ideas in classical liberalism has been the very model of what a liberal education is. That's part of why people used to go to college, but we're not there anymore. Now it's just indoctrination.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. I think that is time to wrap our 100th show.
It was fun.
It was. Glad to be in it with you.
I'm glad.
Now, on show 100, show 99, I was still feeling hoodwinked and bamboozled. It's real, people. It's real.
Well, it's always an honor to be able to talk about these ideas with you.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
So, thanks for being in it with me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, here we go. We'll be back next week, y'all. Hoodwinked and bamboozled. Bye, everyone. Good night.
God bless.
There's nothing left.